Chosen, something is about to be revealed, and when it happens, nothing will ever be the same again. There is a hidden name, a forbidden sound, a frequency so powerful that it makes kingdoms tremble, silences crowds, and awakens storms in the invisible. But few are prepared to carry it. What if I told you that this name is not just a word, but a living code, a key that can open the impossible and forever close what imprisons you? Do you feel that something has been trying to stop you? Have you noticed that whenever you get closer to the truth, chaos sets in, doors close, and confusion grows? This isn't a coincidence. It's a strategic block to keep you away from this revelation. But now, the moment has arrived. You're not hearing this by chance. Many don't make it this far, and even fewer can bear the weight of this truth. This name breaks barriers in time, bends reality, and alters destinies. When the I Am manifests, nothing remains the same. But beware, because once this truth is revealed, there's no going back. Are you ready to discover what the darkness fears most that you know? Chosen, there is something they never told you, and it wasn't by chance. The world has always hidden from you the truth that could set you free. There is a name that is not just a name, but a command over the invisible, a code that governs realities. Those who carry this revelation are no longer controlled. They cannot be stopped. But why do so many fight to keep it a secret? Why does everything seem to push you away from this knowledge? Because whoever discovers this mystery becomes unshakable. Do you feel it? Every time you get closer to something greater, the voices of fear and doubt try to paralyze you. The system taught you to seek answers where there is no life, but true power has never been in the obvious places. What is hidden can only be accessed by those who have been called. Do you feel this calling? It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've faced. This truth has always been waiting for you, but only those who truly want to see can find it. The spiritual world recognizes this name. The darkness trembles before it because they know what happens when a chosen one awakens. It's not about religion. It's not about empty words. It's about identity and authority. Whoever carries this name becomes unstoppable. But this revelation cannot be absorbed by the mind, only by the spirit. If you're still here, something within you has already started to awaken. Now the question is, are you ready to carry this identity? But beware. Discovering this name is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a transformation with no turning back. Many have stopped along the way because they couldn't bear the weight of this truth. But you didn't come this far by accident. Do you feel that something is changing? That the pieces are falling into place? This name carries power, but it also carries responsibility. Once it's revealed, you will never be the same. And now, you need to understand why this name makes kingdoms tremble and the heavens open. What happens when it's spoken with understanding? What changes when it echoes in the invisible and alters realities? Chosen, prepare yourself, because this truth is going to shake everything around you. Chosen, do you know what happens when this name is spoken in the spiritual world? It's not just a sound. It's an explosion in the invisible, an order that makes structures fall and thrones tremble. This name has already made armies bow, kings lose their crowns, and walls collapse before a single breath. But the true mystery is not just in what it does, but in who carries it. Because this name cannot simply be spoken, it must be lived. Many have tried to use it without understanding, but failed. What separates those who activate this power from those who remain trapped? True connection with the source. This name doesn't bend to empty rituals. It doesn't respond to voices without authority. It can only be released by those who have been chosen. And if you feel something within you reacting to this revelation, it's because this calling is already on your life. But what does this mean for you? It means that your words carry more power than you realize. The universe doesn't respond to what you desire, but to what you activate. And when this name is activated, the impossible bends before it. The doors that were locked begin to open, not because you asked, but because the spiritual world recognizes the authority within you. But there's a detail that few understand. This name not only opens doors, it also closes paths that should never be crossed. And here's the most critical point. Whoever carries this name can no longer walk as before. This is not common knowledge. It is a mantle of power that demands positioning. Many approach this revelation but retreat before taking the next step. Because once this name is released into your life, you will be marked in the spiritual world. And from that moment on, nothing will ever be the same. Now, you need to understand what truly happens when this name is activated. Why does it break barriers and alter realities? What is behind this frequency that bends time and makes storms calm? Chosen, this truth is about to be revealed. And when it is, you will never see reality the same way again. Chosen, what moves in the invisible when this name is spoken? It's not just a sound, but a key that activates dimensions that few can access. Those who understand this mystery not only walk on earth, but govern in the spiritual world. Time, circumstances, and even the forces that once held you captive bow before this power. But there's a secret that almost no one notices. It's not enough to know the name. You must know how to release it. Most people spend their lives searching for answers in visible things, but true power has never been on the surface. This name doesn't respond to logic. It responds to those who have been called to carry it. It doesn't operate in the realm of fear or doubt, but in the conviction of those who know their identity. And now I ask you, do you really know who you are in front of this power? Because that's the only thing that can prevent you from activating it fully. The darkness tried to hide this truth because they know that an awakened, chosen one cannot be controlled. The system wants you to believe that your life is guided by chance, but there is something much greater moving behind the scenes. This name not only responds to what you say, but to what you become. That's why many try to use it unsuccessfully, because they carry the sound but not the essence. But those who understand its true nature release something that no force can resist. And now, something within you has already started to react. Because this name not only activates external dimensions, but also awakens what has been dormant within you. What once seemed impossible begins to align, because reality adjusts itself to those who know who they are. But beware, because this awakening also comes with a cost. Once this code is activated, there's no going back to the previous state. Now, you need to understand why this name is feared by darkness and revered by those who know its true meaning. What happens when it is manifested in your life? What impact does it have when it resonates at the right frequency? Chosen, what is about to be revealed can redefine everything you once thought was real. And you need to be ready for it. Chosen, have you noticed how certain truths seem inaccessible? As if something is blocking your understanding, diverting your focus, and weakening your faith. This isn't a coincidence, it's strategy, because there's a mystery so powerful, so definitive, that the darkness does everything to keep you away from it. This name is not only known in the spiritual world, it is feared, and when a chosen one awakens to this reality, they become uncontrollable. Many have been conditioned to fear the power of this name without even understanding why. Others have tried to trivialize it so that no one would realize what truly happens when it is activated. But the evidence is everywhere. Every time this name echoed with understanding, invisible chains broke, walls fell, and hidden forces retreated. That's because it's not just a word, it's an eternal decree. And those who carry it with truth have access to something that cannot be defeated. But there's a problem. The world has been taught to seek power in the wrong places. True strength isn't in appearances, but in what moves in the invisible when this name is revealed. And that's why so many try to distract you, weaken your mind, and keep you stuck in patterns that pull you away from this truth. But now that you've come this far, the pieces are starting to fall into place. Do you feel it? The block is being broken. and the truth is coming to light. Now pay attention. Those who approach this knowledge must be prepared, because once this revelation enters your life, there's no turning back. The signs have already begun. Things around you are changing, your perception is different, and your soul feels that something grand is about to happen. And it's no coincidence, because you're about to access a level that few can reach. But be careful. Those who walk this path must be ready to face the impact of this transformation. And now, you need to understand why this name breaks chains and opens doors. What happens when it's released at the right frequency? Why does it alter realities and tear down everything that was imprisoning you? Chosen, prepare yourself, because this truth is going to change everything around you. Chosen, there are invisible prisons that keep you stagnant without you realizing it. Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you try to move forward, there's something always pulling you back? This happens because not all chains are visible, and not all doors are physical. Some prisons are imposed in the spiritual world, blocking paths, closing opportunities, and weakening your identity. But there is a name that breaks all resistance and unlocks what has been locked against you. The secret is not just in the sound of this name, but in the authority it carries. Those who pronounce it without understanding see no transformation, because it's not enough to speak. You must carry this truth in your spirit. And that's why so many fail when trying to open doors that don't respond to human force. But when this name is activated by someone who recognizes it in essence, the impossible bends and the blocks dissolve. What once was resistance becomes a passage. This means that the right doors will open, but it also means that some will need to be closed. Because this name not only frees, but it also separates. It removes what doesn't belong to your purpose, interrupts cycles that were consuming you, and closes accesses that were draining your energy. Many are afraid of this part, because when this name is activated, changes happen, and they're not always comfortable, but you feel it, don't you? Something is already moving around you. And now you need to decide. Will you continue carrying weights that weren't meant for you, or will you finally release what was trapped and allow this name to manifest what needs to happen? Because once this revelation is absorbed, there's no more space for hidden chains, wrong doors, or invisible resistances. You are being called to something greater, and what was holding you back will no longer be able to follow you. But beware. Because what comes now is not just about opening paths, it's about commanding storms. And this is the point that few understand. This name not only unlocks destinies, but also rules over chaos. What happens when it is released in the middle of the storm? Why does it not only open paths, but also silence what rises against you? Chosen, prepare yourself, because the power that this name carries is about to manifest. And nothing will be the same. Chosen, what happens when this name echoes in the midst of chaos? There are moments when the storm rises furiously, trying to destroy you, make you doubt, weaken you. Have you ever felt this? Situations that arise out of nowhere, sweeping away everything you've built, blocking your advance. But there is a name that not only faces the storm, it governs it. This name doesn't resist the wind, it commands the wind. And when it manifests, what seemed uncontrollable bends before its authority. The problem is that many try to face the chaos with fear, with desperation, with human forces. But the wind does not obey fear. The waves don't respond to doubt. What moves in the invisible can only be stopped when a chosen one rises and releases the right word at the right frequency. Do you understand now? The storm didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal the authority that's already inside you. But if you haven't taken possession of it yet, the wind will continue pushing you backward. The darkness tries to convince you that you're alone in the midst of this battle. But those who carry this name never fight alone. It not only silences the storm, it changes the atmosphere around. What seemed impossible reorganizes in your favor, because everything in the spiritual world responds to this frequency. You no longer need to run from storms, because now you know you can command them. But there is something even deeper happening. It's not just about silencing chaos. It's about being repositioned for something greater. Because when a chosen one activates this name, they don't return to the same place. The storm didn't destroy you, it elevated you. But for this, you need to decide, will you keep trying to survive the winds, or will you take command over them? Because your voice has more power than you think. And now that you understand what happens when this name is activated, you need to see what comes after the storm. Because when everything calms down, the chosen one doesn't just remain standing. They move to a new level. And this is the decisive moment. When the I Am manifests, something greater happens. What comes now is not just about conquering the chaos. It's about understanding the purpose behind this transformation. What changes when this name not only silences storms, but also manifests a new season? Chosen. Prepare yourself, because you're about to cross a threshold that many never managed to cross. Chosen, do you really think you're here by accident? That everything that has happened until now, every struggle, every resistance, every closed door, was just a coincidence? None of it was in vain. What you've lived through so far has been training, a preparation for something much greater. You feel it inside, don't you? That calling that won't let you quit, that restlessness that pushes you forward, even when everything tells you to stop. This happens because you've been marked for something that many can't bear. The world doesn't understand, and that's why it tried to convince you that you were alone. But the chosen ones have always been isolated before being raised. This is part of the process, because you can't carry this name just any way. Those who are called to something great first need to be separated. They need to be forged in the fire of resistance. And now you begin to see everything that tried to stop you only made you stronger. Every battle, every desert, every night of uncertainty, everything brought you to this very moment. Because now it's no longer about surviving, it's about positioning yourself. The calling isn't for everyone, it's for those who have the courage to carry this truth. Do you feel that weight? That sensation that something inside you is awakening, aligning, taking shape? This is not an illusion, it's your identity being activated. And when this happens, things around you begin to change. Not because the world decided to open paths for you, but because your presence now carries a name that alters realities. But there's something that few understand. Being chosen is not a privilege, it's a weight. Because carrying this truth forces you to abandon everything that doesn't belong to your purpose. Many retreat at this point because they realize they can no longer return to what they once were. But you need to decide, will you keep ignoring this calling, or will you embrace what's already being awakened inside you? Because once this revelation comes, it can never be erased. And now the moment has come. When the I Am manifests, nothing remains the same. What happens when this identity finally takes form inside of you? What changes when the calling is no longer a mystery, but becomes a reality? Chosen, prepare yourself, because you are about to live what was destined for you from the start. Chosen, do you feel it? Something inside you has already started to change, and what once seemed like a distant calling now pulses as a truth that can no longer be ignored. The I Am is not a concept, it's a living manifestation, a power that transforms everything it touches. When it reveals itself, cycles end, invisible prisons break, and destinies align. And if you've come this far, it's because this manifestation has already begun within you. But beware, because this revelation demands more than curiosity. It demands surrender. Many want the transformation, but few are willing to endure the process. Because when the I Am manifests, it not only changes your story, it redefines who you are. And this is the part that frightens many, because those who carry this identity can no longer walk as before. And now you need to decide, will you just hear this truth, or will you allow it to transform you? The signs have already started. What once didn't make sense is now falling into place. Do you notice that things around you are changing? People who were once close start to distance themselves. Paths that seemed certain now show themselves empty. This is not a mistake, it's an adjustment. Because when the I am manifests, it eliminates everything that doesn't belong to your purpose. But this also means that you need to be ready for what comes next. What comes now is not about what you want, but about what you were born to be. And this transition may be uncomfortable, because growing requires breaking away from what limited you. But you feel that there's no turning back, right? Because once this identity awakens, you can no longer fit into what once seemed sufficient. Now, the question is no longer whether you're ready, it's whether you'll have the courage to follow through to the end. And now, we come to the final point of this journey, or rather, the beginning of something much greater. What happens when the chosen one understands their true identity? How does this name not only change realities, but completely redefine the existence of the one who carries it? Chosen, prepare yourself, because what comes next is the moment of final revelation. Chosen, there is no going back now. Do you feel it? Something inside you has already been activated, and ignoring this truth is no longer an option. The I am is not just a name, it's an identity, an authority that transforms the one who carries it. And now you need to understand that this revelation is not for everyone. Many listen, but few can bear the weight of this truth. And you already know you've been called for something greater, but there's something no one told you. Awakening comes with a price, because once you access this identity, you can no longer walk as before. What once seemed safe now reveals itself as a prison. You realize you no longer belong to the same places, that certain connections no longer make sense. This happens because the I am separates, purifies, and positions those who have been called. And now you are being positioned. Chosen ones are not formed in comfort, but in resistance. And if you've felt the pressure increasing, it's because something grand is about to manifest. Don't be alarmed if the path seems lonely, because every chosen one passes through the valley before being lifted. But one thing is certain, those who remain steadfast are the ones who will see the glory of the promise fulfilled. And now that you know who you are, the spiritual world also recognizes your identity. But before moving forward, there's one last thing you need to understand. This name not only transforms the one who carries it, but also defines what comes next. Do you feel the weight of this moment? It's as if time is adjusting itself to position you exactly where you need to be. Because from here on, what has been released over you can no longer be ignored. And now, the next step will be decisive. And now, chosen, prepare yourself. Because you are about to experience the greatest transformation of your life. What happens when this name becomes more than a revelation and becomes your reality? How does this identity change not just your destiny, but the very course of your existence? Are you ready? Because what comes now is no longer a promise. It's a calling that must be answered. Chosen, now that you've come this far, you need to understand what you truly carry. The I am is not just a name, it's an authority that moves in the invisible and transforms everything around you. This name awakens storms, but it also silences them. It provokes resistance, but it also destroys barriers. And those who carry it can no longer be stopped, because they no longer walk by what they see, but by what they know exists in the spirit. Have you noticed? Since this revelation began to manifest, your perception has changed. What once seemed impossible, now you understand was already determined. But there's a detail that few comprehend. This name not only changes your path, but it requires a new positioning. Because once this truth settles in, there's no more space to return to what doesn't represent you. Now either you move forward, or everything around you will start pushing you to where you should be. This means the trials won't disappear, but now you have something you didn't have before: awareness of who you are. The wind may blow against you, but you already know it's not the wind that defines the destiny of a chosen one. The storm may roar, but the one who carries the I am does not fear the darkness. It disperses it. And now, you must take possession of this identity, because everything in the spiritual world already recognizes that you have been raised up. The time for doubt is over. What was meant to be revealed has already been released over you. Now it's your decision to walk in this truth or remain where you were. But something tells me you already know the answer. Because within you, this calling already echoes as something that can never be ignored. And the only question left is, are you ready to live what you were born to live? Chosen, the journey has begun, and now it's impossible to stop what has been activated. This name has called you, awakened you, and now you are faced with the greatest choice of your life. Will you keep waiting, or will you finally rise to live the identity the world tried to hide from you? Because now, there's no turning back. The I Am has already manifested. Chosen, what has been revealed here is not just knowledge. It's a call for those who have the courage to carry this truth. Now you know that the I Am is not just a word, but a power that governs realities and transforms destinies. Do you feel it? The change has already started, and ignoring this truth is no longer an option. Everything in the spiritual world already recognizes your identity, and what happens from here is in your hands. But understand one thing, those who hear this call can never go back to what they were before. Because when this revelation enters, it consumes everything that's not aligned with your purpose. You may try to ignore it, you may hesitate for a moment, but deep down, you already know your journey will never be the same. Time is moving, and what's been prepared for you is ready to be manifested. Now either you move forward, or you will be forced to leave behind everything that no longer belongs to your identity. And I ask you, what will you do now? Will you keep waiting for something to happen, or will you position yourself to live what has been determined for you from the start? The choice has always been before you, but now it can no longer be postponed, because the I Am has already manifested, and the only thing left to know is if you are ready to answer the call. If this message spoke to you, leave in the comments. The I Am has already manifested, and remember, this journey doesn't end here. Keep seeking, keep growing, because something much bigger is about to happen. You are not alone, you never have been. The time for revelation has come, and your response will change everything.